Hi, Lindsay. Hi,
Hello.
Lindsay.
I can't actually see you. Can you see me?
Have you switched your video on?
Yeah, I have. I just wonder if it's come up with an L.
Yeah.
Review
Maybe switch it off and switch it on again. That sometimes does the trick.
No, I don't know. I think it's internet connection's not that great, so it just does what it can as a minimum.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what happens if things aren't so good. So
Yeah,
not to worry, as long as you can see and hear.
yeah, I can see and hear fine.
That's great. Good
I thought
evening. Evening, James. How are you doing?
Not too bad, not too bad.
Not too bad. Busy day?
It has been a very busy day. I've made it, so
You've
that's
made it, and you're on time, so excellent. Obviously, I'm expecting some more people, but we've had a few apologies because we're into holiday season. So we have a few people missing this evening. So I will record the session. Then if there's anything that you wish to catch up on, you can do so a little bit later. We'll just give them a few minutes before we start. Oh, who's this? Here's Doug. Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Yeah, it looks a nice evening behind you.
Yeah, it is.
Order effect.
I wish it was. I mean, it was a lot nicer this morning. Actually, I was out with the dogs quite early, and it was beautiful then, but not so good now.
It's a bit grey now, isn't it?
Yeah. Not to worry. Might be a bit cooler tonight. So we'll make a start if everybody is willing and able. We're going to make a start this evening looking at Lightroom Classic. We've got a few things to do there I just want to draw your attention to before we go back to Adobe Lightroom. So as I said, I am recording the session. Just really, as far as deadlines are concerned, we're up to week 7 of a 9-week course tonight. So next week we need to submit the course template. Okay, and so we're looking at a couple of things that you'll need to do for that course template. So we'll get those nailed tonight. So one of them is a simple way of colour popping in Lightroom. Okay, so we'll just make a start. Let me just share my screen.
The template's different from the individual learning thing.
Yeah, that's right. So the template, you're actually copying and pasting in or inserting images of projects and screenshots and things that you've already completed throughout the course. So everything, we should have done by time for submission. But if you've got any queries, don't hesitate to ask. And then ILJ, that's something that we just have to do for every course that's not full cost. So there's not much to go in that. I've tried to keep it as simple as possible. Okay. Right. Let me start on that. So I'm sharing my screen right now. Okay, so we'll just make a start. So I'm just going to run between the PowerPoint and between Lightroom just to show you what we're talking about. So we're just going to start off by spending a little bit of time looking at the Painter tool. So it looks just like a little spray can. So the reason I'm drawing your attention to it is because it's probably one of the most underrated tools in Lightroom, and probably because it causes a little bit of confusion. So we aim to dispel the confusion and just look in some detail at what it can do exactly, how it can speed up your digital workflow. I've been using it for a long time and I find it is absolutely brilliant. So that's why I thought we'd put this together. So what can it do? So it's a very quick way to add things like flags, labels, star ratings. You can add images to collections using it. You can keyword super fast using it. You can work with metadata and also just apply presets. So for example, if there was say 6 images in a collection that you wanted to apply a creative black and white preset to, you could use the tool for that. The thing that causes the confusion is that people don't realise that it only works in grid view. So basically you just remember to press G on the keyboard. So we'll have a look at this in practice in a moment. So basically we're in Library, we'll go to grid view by pressing G, and then we can select the Painter tool. If the toolbar itself is missing, you press T and that brings that back again, and I'll show you that in just a moment. And if the Painter tool is missing, there's a little arrow you can point to in order to incorporate that Painter tool. So we're going to just look at it, how we can use it to set a flag, and then how we can do that to a number of images, and how we can also subtract by holding down Alt or Option. So that's quite a lot of information to digest, so we'll just make a start, right? So first of all, you can see I'm in Library View. You can see I'm in Grid View, and so here we can see at the bottom in the toolbar we've got the Painter tool. Now if I press T just on the keyboard, the toolbar is gone. So if you don't see a toolbar, you press T, the toolbar comes back. Over here, right next to thumbnails, we have this downward pointing arrow. If I click on the arrow, I can check that the Painter tool is indeed selected. We know it is because we can see it on my screen, and then there's also other options as well which can be selected. So to start off with, I've got my tool selected. Right next to paint, this is what we are choosing to paint with, okay? What it is we're wanting to add to our images. So if I just click here, you can see, and we'll look at a few of these different options. We're going to start off just with flag, okay? So if we've got that flag ticked right there, and we've got the tool, and then if I go to one of the images and just click on it, then straight away you can see the flag has been applied. So that's not really that impressive, because obviously you could just do that by selections or with your mouse. But then if I say went like that, that is super quick. So I've just added a flag to all of those images just simply by spraying them. then if I go to one of the images, hold down Alt or Option, you'll see my spray can now turns to an eraser. So I can click if I wish to take off any of those flags. And you can see the images are flagged, we've got a flag, and we've also got a white border. So in nearly all of these different options we can use the painter tool for, you can also use the Alt or the Option key in order to subtract. Okay, so that's the first thing to take a look at, unless you've got any questions. Okay,
No questions.
I'll pop the instructions up on the screen. I'll just see, has anybody else joined us yet or not? Just check that. Right, I'll pop the instructions on the screen, and then you can see the first thing that we're going to do. Just add a flag, add it to a series of images, and then how we can subtract. Is everybody managing to select the options and found the painter tool okay? Yeah.
Shane, if you click in the flag with the eraser, you get a black cross rather than erase the flag. Is that right?
Right, I'll just see. So if you press an X, then that's just like, so if I press X, that's setting as a reject. Is that what you're meaning? No.
What I meant was when I changed the eraser with the option, by pressing Option, if you
Yeah.
actually click in the white flag, it puts a cross on the white flag rather than erase it.
Yeah, so you're not actually clicking there because that's just setting it as reject. So that's another shortcut that you can do. So
Okay.
when you're inside the middle of your image, you just Option click and then you get the eraser.
Right, yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so it's just another really useful thing, pressing that Alt and then just clicking to get the black flag, because that's just like another really quick shortcut.
Right.
Does everybody manage to do that, or you need a little bit longer on it? No, we've done it, so we've just managed to work through that and then add flags and then take the flags away. Okay. So the next thing we'll just have a look at is how effective and fast this can be to add keywords. Because you know the situation, you've perhaps been out with the camera for a day or even longer, and then you have like a whole lot of different images, different subject matter, and so you may just have sort of a few keywords that are the same. So it could be like location or date, that kind of thing. So this way, it's a really quick way to set up the keywords. So this time, instead of going to flag, we go to keywords. And then it lets you just type in this little box right here, the appropriate keywords. So the format is just keyword, comma, space, next keyword. So there's a few of them that I've already typed in. Okay, is everyone all right there? Yeah, so I'm just going to click and you can see it's assigning the keywords to images that I would like to use as far as have keywords assigned as far as Studio is concerned. So once I've done that, then if I go back, then we can see in the keyword section that those images have now had Newcastle upon Tyne and Studio assigned to them. So you see how fast this is. So for example, you could have been out shooting different birds and you might have a whole lot of puffins, a whole lot of kittiwakes or whatever that you've managed to take photos of, and then you can just sort of whiz through in keyword a huge amount of images really quickly. So it's fantastic at speeding up your digital workflow. So, any questions on that, or if not, have a little look at that one.
Can I just ask you again? Let's say you've been out of the farms.
Yes.
You've got a different species. So you use the keyword farms for the lot.
Yes.
And you decide, well, I like to have the species on particular slides, puffin, guillemot,
Yes.
etc. You can continue to add the individual slides or groups of slides like that, can you?
Yes, certainly. So this is when it comes into its own. So on import, you might decide, right, there's all these 500 images, for example. On import, to save time, they can all be keyworded with farms, the date, maybe your name, that type of thing. But then when you come down to the nitty gritty, you want to do the separate keywording for the guillemots, the puffins, the shag, any other birds, the terns, all of those different ones. So that's the way you can do it very quickly. So you just choose your keywording and then you just type in once you've got, just select a spray can there. Then once you've typed in your keywording, then you can just go around clicking the ones that meet the appropriate criteria. Because it's quite a laborious process to go through an awful lot of content, individually keywording or copying and pasting keywords. So this just speeds everything up. So it's a really good way of doing things. Hi Graham, are you managing to pick up on what we're doing, or do you need an explanation?
Well, hi there, Jen. Sorry, I thought I was in mute there, but I wasn't. I was still used to mute myself, and I realised I was in mute. Well, I just joined you talking about the keywords and using Painter.
Yeah.
So, yes, I'm okay on that. Thank you.
Okay, so we're just running through how the Painter tool can really speed up your workflow. So we're just looking at the different features that work really well with the tool.
Right.
Obviously, it's just like going through, flagging images, and it's just that idea you can spray things on, which is so much faster than copying and pasting. So it's a great tool to use, so we're just looking at what we can do with it. Okay.
Right, yeah, thank you.
And this is being recorded, so if you want to step back and see the beginning, then when it's processed, you'll be able to do that. Okay.
Okay, great, thanks, Jim.
Right, have we keyworded or are we still doing that? We've done it. Okay, so that's just a way of keywording, and then we can use those keywords in order to find images from the whole of your catalogue, so it does work really well. So we'll just jump back in and look at the next thing. So the next thing, we'll have a look at how it can quickly get different photos into a collection. So we're going to create a collection, we're going to set it as a target collection, and then we'll set the painter tool to the target collection, and then we're just going to select a number of images and then just see how the count goes up as those images are added to a new target collection. So the other thing, just to remind you, Graham, in case you didn't know, this only works in grid view. So a lot of there's a lot of confusion about it, and it's one of those underused tools, mainly because people try to use it in different views and it won't work. So it will only work in grid view, and you can hold down the option key when you've got the tool selected in order to change the tool to an eraser, and then you can take some of the features off that have been added. Okay, so that's just option and then just the click.
Okay, yes, so I didn't realise about the grid view. I'm pleased you mentioned that, otherwise that might have got confusing.
Well, yeah, that's why it tends to be kind of underused, just because of that particular feature. Right, so we'll see how it can help us when we're creating a collection. So if we go to collections just on the left hand side of the screen, and then click on the plus to create a new collection, and then naming that collection, I'm just going to call it the Studio Collection, and then we can set it as the target collection and we can click create. Okay, so that's that collection created. So if we just go down there, we can see the Studio Collection obviously has got 0 images in it at the moment, and it has the little plus because it's been set as the target collection. Then if we go to the Lightroom course and then back to our painter tool, and then the tool is set as target collection. Okay, so if we just go down to, so we see there's Studio with 0. And then if we just find, I mean, you can do this on your old images if you wish, it doesn't have to be these. Then you can see the count is going up as I go through and add different images, then that they're being added to the target collection. Okay, so it's going up all the time. Let's find a few more. So you get the idea, and if you were dealing with a massive amount, you can just sort of quickly spray over super fast, and it just saves you a lot of time. So that's the next thing to look at, just creating a new collection, set it as the target collection, and then just use whichever images you wish, set the spray painter, or the painter tool as they call it, to target collection, and then just see how those images can be added. Right, is that going okay?
Yeah, that's quite easy to do, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's quick and easy to do. The only thing you have to remember, G for grid view. That's the main thing. Do we need another couple of minutes, or we're ready to move on? We're okay?
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm fine.
Right, so we've looked at a few features, how this can help our workflow. The next thing that I'll point out that's very useful is, let me just see, rotation. Okay, so in rotation, again, there was a workshop that I did last week, and it was all about just leaving the camera, well, you were there, Lindsay, in portrait format. So when you review your images, the camera's the right way up, rather than having to sort of twist your neck if it goes back to horizontal. So some image editors, Lightroom included, when you import your images into it, it doesn't always rotate the right way up. So this is a very quick way if you need to rotate your images, and again, it's just using the same feature. So the options are, you can rotate left, right, you can flip horizontal and flip vertical. So again, very useful just to go through, and you can just quickly rotate your images as needs be. So that's another quick one to have a look at, rotation. Okay, have a little look at that. So that's the rotation one. And then the last one we'll have a look at is settings. So again, I'm not going through every single one, just the ones that you might find useful. So if we click on settings, there is so much to choose from here. You wouldn't believe that they've incorporated so much into a single tool. So we've got a huge range of different settings for portraiture, deep skin, medium skin, light skin. We've got different styles. We just scroll through some more. So if we just go through some of these, there's a huge amount of different settings that you can copy across. So if we go to, say, black and white, just have a little look what we'll do here. Maybe black and white high contrast. So again, just using the tool, we can click on an image and have any of those settings incorporated. But the only thing is, when you go to option and click, it does not take you back to where you were. Okay, this is, so some of the settings, you'll find that that doesn't actually work the way the other one did. So if you just use your Command and Z, Control and Z to step back, then you can do it that way, just with a regular undo instead of that shortcut with the Option key.
Jen, in this case, it doesn't seem to want to give me any options.
Right, so you've got the tool selected and you've selected settings.
Yeah, sorry, I've made a mistake. There's a second thing along, isn't there?
Yeah, that's where you choose. There's so many little things that are really, easily missed. So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I'll go back to sleep.
It's impressive though, just how much you can do with this tool.
What I don't have though is you had a little picture of the one that you'd selected. It came up with a little picture at the side. It's the one you selected, didn't it?
What, you mean the image I've selected or?
Yeah, the image that you selected, did it come up at the side as well?
No. So
No,
I'm just spraying like different images, black and white, high contrast. It's not coming at the side.
Right, okay. I thought it didn't. It's difficult sometimes to see the changes that you make.
Okay. Yeah, so I'm just pointing, I don't know if you can see my screen with the spray can, so I've just put on black and white high contrast on 2 images. You can see that, and then I can just undo with Control or Command and Z in order to step back.
Yeah. No, you see how you've got the picture underneath Navigator now? You've got the image underneath Navigator.
This, yeah, you mean on the left-hand side? Yeah, that's...
selected.
I
don't have that.
Have you got your Navigator open?
Probably not. That might be the reason.
Yeah. If the arrow's pointing towards Navigator, it's not open. It's got a point. Yeah.
No, thank you.
Okay.
That made it easier because when I was doing some of the changes, I couldn't actually see if a change had been made because I'm looking at tiny little.
Right. Okay. Yeah. So if you've got the Navigator there, then you can see the change in real time in a bigger picture.
Great. Thank you.
So if anybody is interested in enrolling on the next course, if you want to keep going with Lightroom, the next course will be incorporating Lightroom and Photoshop into the same digital workflow. And so there will be a continuation of this, and that will also run on a Tuesday evening in September. And because we haven't got Gosford on a Tuesday night, this will be online. We do have Gosford on a Tuesday during the day and a Friday during the day, so we will be doing some face-to-face during that time. So there will be a Tuesday morning advanced class. And the options for the advanced photography, you can either do it online, you can do it face-to-face, or you can do a combination of the two. On a Wednesday night, we'll be running an advanced class at the Heaton Centre. And again, that will be the same. So you have the option of face-to-face tuition coming into class, or you can do the same thing from home. Okay, so that's just to give you an idea of what to expect in September. But there will be a brochure out that will be published on Monday, and I'll also put details about the next course if you want to keep going with Lightroom and Photoshop, the two combined, and that will be on the screen.
Are you only doing one advanced class, or are you doing an advanced class during the day still?
So I'm doing two advanced photography, one the Tuesday morning and the other one Wednesday night.
Okay.
Right. Are we done with that now? Everybody happy?
Yeah.
Yeah, fabulous. Right, okay. So we'll move on and have a look at the next thing. So next thing, I'm just going to select this little picture here of the little boy in the raincoat. So that's a child in the yellow coat, and just taking that into, let me just see, the develop module. Okay. So this is the image we're going to work with, and we're just going to have a look at what we can actually do in Lightroom as far as some of the editing techniques that we like to use in the other software are concerned. So one of the things that you have to put into your template of work is colour popping. Okay, so with this image, the idea is to take out the other colours in the image and just leave the yellow raincoat. So to do that, if we go to our HSL colour tab and then make sure we have saturation selected, then the quick and nasty way to do some colour popping is to just zero out red, zero out orange. So we're taking that right the way down to -100. Yellows we're just boosting. So we're giving the yellows a really good boost, maybe not quite that much, and then we're taking out the greens, the aqua, the blue, the purple, and the magenta. Okay, so that's more or less stripped the image, but there's still a little bit of yellow left because, as you know, grass, shrubs, etc. often made up of a lot of different shades of yellow as well as green. And so to fix that bit, we can turn to the adjustment brush. So options that you've got at this stage would be the adjustment brush using saturation at -100. You could go into Photoshop. So your other option would be just to right click on the image and then go to edit in, and then you can just edit it in Adobe Photoshop. And do a little bit of cloning, because Photoshop's a lot faster for cloning than it is in Lightroom. So in Lightroom, you've also got the spot healing, which you can use to heal or you can use to clone. Okay, so it's quite a laborious process compared to Photoshop, but you can give that a go just to see how you get on. So I would suggest that you take the feather right up. Size of the brush can be quite large, and then if you say click on an imperfection, then again you can just move around until you get this actually coming from the area you want it to. So you can do a combination of all of these things. So you can clone over, or you could press K on the keyboard and that will activate your adjustment brush. Then you just make sure that you double click on effect, then that will just zero out everything, because you don't want to be painting in any effects that might look a little bit odd. And then in saturation, you just take the slider again to -100, and you might find that it just takes a little bit of time to go over these like additional spots that haven't been eradicated, but you get the idea that you can colour pop in Lightroom. And while you guys have a go, I'll just keep going and finish off that background. So obviously if you had something like a red post box, then you would just be zeroing out everything else, keeping the red, boosting it slightly, possibly the oranges as well. But you get the idea that you can selectively colour pop quite easily in Lightroom. Are there any questions? Sorry, Lindsay.
I think it's a lot easier in Photoshop, isn't it, when you're having to draw around the...
Yeah.
In Photoshop, it's far more laborious.
It is far more laborious. I mean, you can do this same technique within Camera Raw. So, you know, if you were to take your image in Camera Raw, you can do exactly the same. In Photoshop, though, it's like duplicating the layer and then desaturating the top, as you probably remember, then just using your eraser and rubbing out the areas that you want to reveal. So, yeah, this is a lot quicker. Okay, there is a handout on it. So if you want a visual of what I've been talking about in classwork week 7, you'll see that there's a handout explaining that procedure. Okay?
Jane, I haven't got this image. I've only got a few of the Taylor images.
You've only got a few, okay?
Yeah.
So just choose anything that you can colour pop. Yeah, it's just really for the technique, and then you've done your homework at the same time.
Thank you.
I must say I'm impressed you're all here, because I'm guessing there's football on right this minute.
Yeah, it was a draw last time I looked.
Oh, you've got that on in the background, have you? Keeping a keen eye on things.
Jane, what key do you use to reduce the spots, the size of the spot healing brush, or the cloning brush? What key do you use?
So if you just use your left square bracket, yeah.
I tried using that. That's what I thought it might be, but it seems to make no difference.
Right, it should. Once you've got that selected, so just make sure you've got it selected, and then it's the left key makes it smaller, the right key will increase it. Or if you just go into the edit, so you can choose size from there as well.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah.
Just a quick word. I'm recording the match, so I don't want to hear of any scores or anything, please.
All right, I won't shout. Don't worry.
Thank you.
That's going to be a tough call now.
Surely it's more groans than shouts, isn't it?
Oh.
I don't know. I don't know what's happening to
Who's playing tonight?
England and Germany.
Oh, really? It's the big one.
Oh, it's a big
Yeah.
one. Yeah, it's a big one.
So you can tell I'm not really a football fan. It's on. There's like 3 TVs it'll be on in this house, but I'm not watching it on any of them. So there's a lot of football fans here, but not me. So would you agree that it is a lot easier doing that colour popping in Lightroom, or do you think it's fiddly?
No, it's easy, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It is.
Well, you've got no selections or anything to make, and you know it's quite often it is that predominant colour that you're wanting to remain, you know, whether it's a yellow cab or something, you know, that's really standing out, somebody with a colourful jacket on, so you know how to do it. I'm really excited tomorrow. I've got the chance to go up to Newcastle and go up the Tyne Bridge Tower. So that should be quite interesting.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
How did you manage that then, Jen?
It's just we've got this Newcastle photography project running. And
right.
yeah, and so through that and through the council we've got access. Because it's not generally open, because there's something like 192 steps and a few rickety ladders before you get to a hatch, and then you pop through the hatch and then you get to the viewing platform. And so, you know, I think there's maybe a few rats and things there, so it's not... I'm not really selling it, am I? It's probably not the sort of place many people want to go.
Well, I'm sure you'll get some really good views up the top as well.
Yeah, that's what I'm hoping actually. So I'm really quite excited about it because I've not been in it before. But I'm going to ask if you know there's any chance of group visits, so you know we can open it out for other people to go.
Mm-hmm. So it's not looked after by the National Trust, is it? It's the council who look after it?
Yeah. It's the council. They have caretakership of it. Not National Trust. If it was National Trust, it would be beautiful. But of course, you know, the bridge itself's falling apart and it needs a lot of work and millions spent on it. I think the budget is 12 million to bring it back up to scratch. But it's a long way off that, and they're saying that, you know, it might just have to be buses only because it does need major restoration work.
Be horrendous if they shut that road down. And
Can you imagine?
Traffic. It doesn't bear thinking about.
I don't know what they would do. I mean, yeah, because there's so much goes across that bridge, as you know.
Yeah. Mm.
What people don't realise about the 4 towers is they actually perform no structural function.
Well, do they not?
They could take them away and the bridge would still be as good or as rickety.
Is that right?
That's
There's now,
interesting, Doug. You're a
Yeah.
mine of useful information.
Well, I think the original concept was that it'd be used when the quay was actually busy. It'd be used as warehouses.
Yes,
I don't think they ever were.
yes.
And I remember when they still had lifts in them. And because one day I thought I'll go along and see if the lift's working. So I pressed the bell, and eventually this very, very bored old man appeared that swung back the doors and took me down to the quayside. It was obvious that not many people used the lift facility.
Well, so you could get all the way from the bridge down to the quayside through them.
Yes,
I
yeah.
didn't realise.
Yeah. I did it once, and that probably was the first person that took 6 weeks to do it from the first.
So, Doug,
So
sorry, go ahead, Graham.
I was going to say, presumably, Jane, you're not going down, you're just going right up to the top, is that right?
Yes, yes,
You're climbing, are you? Yeah.
yeah. That's the plan. And Doug, do you know when the lift stopped working? Would it be 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
Oh, the lifts, I think they gave them up 20, 25 years ago.
Ah,
Yeah. They, once or twice, I mean, in the year of visual arts, when it was a long time ago, they did put an installation in one of the towers. And there was a plan to turn them into at least one into a nightclub.
mm-hmm.
That fell through. And some ravers got in 1 year. But yeah.
Yeah, because there was some people went in and they didn't realise that there was somebody living in there. And this guy just popped up from nowhere.
Yeah.
So there's somebody who lives in the towers, is
Well, this person was like a tramp living in
I
the
see.
tower, and nobody
Yes.
realised there was just these beer bottles and some bedding, and he just popped up apparently,
Oh, right.
and they got a major fright because they weren't expecting it.
Well,
So,
why?
is it just one particular tower you go into, or can you access all 4 of them then?
It's just the one that we are going in from Lombard Street.
Lombard Street. So is that on the Newcastle side rather than the
Yeah,
Gateshead
that's on the Newcastle side of the quayside.
So it's on the left hand side if you were looking across the bridge at Gateshead, is it?
So if you're looking across towards Gateshead, it's on the left, and you just
Right.
past the Premier Inn. Apparently, there's some locked doors, and that's where you go in, and that's where the
Oh.
stairs are.
Oh, right.
This is just what I've been told. I haven't been in before, but I was looking at some pictures, and it looked pretty amazing. I was hoping for some really strong sunlight to shine in,
Mhm.
but I might not get that, sadly. Right, enough of my chit chat. Are we done, or are we still doing that?
Oh, it's fine. Yeah.
Well, it's fine. We're done. Okay.
So is there many going tomorrow, Jane?
Well, I don't know, you see, James, because I was thinking of my risk assessment, and then I thought, well, actually, I'm going to do this in my own time. So it's like outside of the Newcastle City Learning remit, because as you know, the NPP is officially finished now. So I'm just doing it as any ordinary person, not as a teacher. And so I was just looking into it, and then when I found out about the climb, there's some people that have had like hips replaced and knees replaced, and I'm thinking that might not be ideal to go up 192 steps and then a ladder
No, I think there's a health and safety issue there, definitely.
Well, there is, yeah. Because initially I was going to do a risk assessment, and I thought, actually, I don't need to, because this is just adults meeting as a group and doing something independent of their course, because the course is finished. So it's got nothing to do with me, the organising of it. So, yeah, I'm not sure then, in answer your question, James, if there might be some people that drop out. Yeah.
Yeah.
So we'll soon find out. But I think there was only like 6 people that were signed up for it.
Yeah, I must admit I would probably struggle because I need a new knee. So I've got a new knee.
Oh, here's Margie. Margie's here. Hi, Margie. So
Hi, Jean.
what's your view? Are you going to go up the tower or not?
Yes, I am.
You are. Have you seen
Definitely.
the latest about the steps and everything?
Yeah, 192 steps.
Yeah, and the ladder.
Oh, a ladder.
Yeah, so it's 192 steps, and then you've got to go up a ladder, and then you've got to get through a hatch.
Oh, right. Now that's going to make us think. Ooh, I'll have to think about that one, Jean.
Yeah, I would say think very carefully, because I think it's going to be quite a tough climb up the steps, and then the ladder, and then the hatch. So plenty of time to think about it, though. Right.
Yeah.
Okay, so this has been recorded, Maggie. You'll be able to pick up on anything that you've missed later. All right, so we've just been looking in some detail at the painter tool, then we've just looked at colour popping in Lightroom, and now we've got a requested topic. So this is just a little aside from Lightroom, because it's been asked for. I said that I'd include it tonight because it might be useful for everybody.
Yeah.
And it's basically just looking at and extending the canvas by dragging down, just extending what's there rather than filling in with content aware. So there's a few techniques you can do for extending your canvas, and you can use any old picture that you want for this. So basically we're just using the crop tool. And then just make sure that you haven't got anything that's already selected. And then this is only really good for where you have a very small extension of the canvas. So if you've got something tricky, so for example, if there was like a bird with the bird's wing on the tip, you'd have to do a little bit of cloning as well. So this works well where you've only got like a little bit of canvas to extend, normally in an area that's not too difficult unless you're prepared to do the cloning as well. So you can do the sky, or you can do the foreground of the image. So basically I've got width, height and resolution set in the options bar for the crop tool. I've just selected the crop tool and then just dragged down just to create that tiny little space at the bottom. So click the tick to confirm that, and then using the marquee tool, so I'm selecting a little way into the blank space. So I've got my grasses selected and a little bit of stream you can see here, but I've also selected just into that white space I've created at the bottom. I then go into Command and T, Control and T for transform. And then we'll pick up this bottom handle here. So transform has basically just latched on to the selection we've previously made. Now you can hold down your shift key as you drag down just to keep that selection straight. And then you click on your tick to commit, Command and D, Command Shift and D. I haven't actually made a very good job of that, have I? Just do that once more. And just drag down. Oh, no, look at. Oh. Let's do that once more. Labrador's just knocking my arm as I'm doing this. But you get the idea. I'll do a better one in a minute. So basically this is what's involved. That has left a little bit of a rough line just because I had my arm knocked as I was doing it. So I'll just let you guys have a go as well. But you get the idea. So basically it's just you using the crop tool, you extend the canvas, and then you just create that selection into the extended area and then drag down, keeping your shift key down and no Labradors to move your arm, and then you get that nice extension of what you've just done. Okay, so you want to all have...
And this is in Photoshop, Jane, is it?
Yeah, I'm in Photoshop now just because this was asked for. Let's do that once again. So if you guys want to have a look at doing it as well. So as I say, it works just well where you've just got a little bit of canvas that you have to extend. So you can see that's it there where I haven't had my arm knocked. So it's basically just stretching that canvas down and continuing it, but it gives you that extra foreground if you should need it. So it can be really useful. If there's texture especially, it works well. Grasses in front of a bird, for example. So that's the technique.
Once you extended it and you applied the marquee tool, how did you stretch it? Did you go to transform, Jane?
Exactly, yeah, you just press Command and T, and then if you keep your shift key down and then just drag to keep that line perfectly straight, then you don't get your grasses or whatever it is mismatching. That's, you just pull it straight down.
Ah, yes.
So it can really, be very useful. Sometimes you just wish that you had that tiny little bit extra for whatever reason, and that's when it's particularly good. Is that working for everybody? Oh, hi Emma. That was what you wanted to see. Did you manage to catch it?
I think so. I caught the end of it. I think I get the gist.
So this will be recorded, so you can just skip the boring bits and just play the bits that you want to see.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Sorry, how did you stretch it out again, June?
So once you've got your selection in place, then you press Command or Control and T to enter free transform. Then you just drag downwards.
Right.
And why are you holding down the shift again, Jane, when you do the dragging?
That's just to keep it straight.
Ah, right.
Yeah, because otherwise it tends to go all over the place.
Right.
But as I say, it'll work really well if you've got a bit of sky you need to extend, or a little bit of foreground. Okay, good boy. I'll be back in 1 second. Right, how we doing? Do we need a bit more time or are we done? It's okay?
Seems fine, yeah.
Excellent. Right, okay, so we'll just close down a few of these programs now. So we're finished with Photoshop. And I'll put that information about the Painter tool on Classroom if anybody wants to go back over it. So now we're going to jump into Adobe Lightroom, okay, just to continue work from last week that we didn't actually get through. Okay, so back into Adobe Lightroom now, and we're going to have a little look at reducing noise in Adobe Lightroom. So starting off with, I'm going to work with the flower image. So flower image is selected, then I can just click on the edit tool in order to bring that to the fore. So with this image, as in a few others, a common problem is the appearance of digital noise, which can be very distracting. And as you know, can be caused by low light, high ISO, or cropping. So a lot of people are surprised to hear that the appearance of noise can be exacerbated by cropping an image. And obviously as you crop in and then you enlarge the image, then that noise is magnified. So we're always aiming to reduce the appearance of noise rather than to take it out completely. And so that really gives us the best effect. So in this image, there's quite a lot of luminance noise, and that's noise with no colour and basically looks like film grain. At the bottom of the screen, you can fit to 100%. You can zoom in, so as I zoom in even further, you can see the appearance of that noise. So it's always good to zoom in when you're doing this kind of noise reduction. So the thing we go to is the detail panel. And then we're going to remove or reduce the noise before sharpening, because you don't want to sharpen the noise, so best to get rid of the noise or reduce the noise first. And then basically we're just taking that noise reduction up slightly. So you take it up a bit, and then again you can zoom in even more just to check on the progress as you go up. So you just take it up a little bit at a time, because what you don't want to do is soften the detail. And so just going up a little at a time, around about the 60-62 mark is working quite well here, because it does smooth out pixels. And then if it's removing fine detail, that can be obviously a disadvantage. So the goal is never to take noise out completely, instead just to reduce it down so it's not distracting. If you're finding it hard though, as we're just going through that noise reduction to see what's happening, if you hold down your Option or your Alt key, then you can get a grayscale preview, and then you can just take it up a little bit at a time until you sort of get the right balance. So if we go too far, we can see that we're starting to lose our detail. So if we just say take it down a little bit to the early lower 60s, then that's working reasonably well. And there we have it. So that's the first one, where we're just looking at removing or reducing some of the noise that's in this image. Okay. Right, are we just about there, or do you need a bit longer? Bit longer?
It looks like you can never entirely denoise that picture, or does it?
No. It'd probably get a good result if I put it through DxO Pure Raw. That would be like my preferred way to go if I've got, you know, really noisy image, just because the results with that are pretty amazing. So, you know, it's using what you've got though. So if you haven't got Pure Raw, then you want Lightroom to do a decent job. And so using noise reduction is the best thing you can do.
Yeah.
Right.
And you didn't sharpen that up afterwards, you just left it with the noise reduction.
Yeah, so in order to work on that fully, you know, go through the usual things, so we would look at light and then just pull the highlights back just to claw back a little bit of detail, because some of the colour rendition isn't really that good. Just see if the shadows need opening up a little bit, and then as normal you would work on the whites, holding down your option key until you get the burnout, and then pull back to set your white point and then set your black point as well. It's not a particularly well taken image because it is rather bright, overexposed. We'll possibly just take it down a little bit, but even taking it down, you know, you're not really clawing back much detail. So it's mainly just to show you the limitations, you know, when you're working with noise reduction. But finally, the very last thing that you would do, you would sharpen it. But again, you know, there's very little detail in these red flowers, petunias, I think they are. So you're just really making the best of a bad job, I would say.
Jane, can I just ask, you know, that DxO noise reduction program?
Yeah.
How easy is it to use?
Very. You basically just open the image and then just click a button and off it goes. So it's really good to, you know, put raw files through it that are a little bit noisy, because it means images that you thought you'd never be able to use, it will actually extract amazing detail. So it's very, very clever.
Right. I am considering getting it because I want to look through the images I've took. There's like loads have got noise in them, and it just spoils the total look of a photograph.
Yeah, but you know, you can get a trial, you know, before you decide, in case you don't want to, you know, shell out for the program. You can get a trial and then just see what you think.
Yeah.
Right, we'll have a look at the next one. Yes?
Sorry, how did you get to the black and white when you were trying it with black and white?
Just hold down your Alt or your Option key.
Yeah,
you know how we normally, when we set the white point and the black point, we'll hold that down until we get the burnout. That's yeah.
Thank you.
Or you could go to profile at the top of the thing and change from colour to monochrome.
I think he's just meaning just for the processing, you know, to see the noise. Is that what you were meaning,
Yeah.
James?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
what it was.
Oh,
yes.
okay. Thanks, Margie, though, but I thought he was just meaning for the noise. When you've done the flower one, the next one to have a look at is the bridge. And so in this one, we've got a lot of colour noise and we've got some luminance noise. So when you zoom in and you see these little sort of patches of coloured, very fine coloured dots, then you can see that there's colour noise present. So again, always best to just zoom right in, and then the next thing that we're going to do is just open up our noise panel within detail if you haven't got it open, and then this time if we just use the color noise slider to start off with, and then just take it up and then inspect what it's doing as you take that slider up a little bit higher, because it's pretty bad. So we're around 73, 74, something like that. And then on top of that, we've got some luminance noise, so we have to use the noise reduction for that. And so if we just crank that up a little bit, and this is a bit too high, around the 60 mark, anything between 60 and 65 will work. And you get sort of a reasonable look with doing that. Put the original and then after. I don't know how well that's coming across in the stream. Let's zoom in and have another look, if you can see that any better. So you can see there quite well. I don't know if it's showing up on your monitor, but you can see here this is the original, and then there is an improvement.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it has done a pretty good job in there on that image, and there are stars, so it's actually distinguished between stars and noise, so it hasn't affected the stars.
Jen, presumably the DxO works as a plug-in to Lightroom and Photoshop, does it?
Yeah, it does, and it'll work as a standalone as well.
Right, yes.
Are we done, or are we still on with that one? We're still on?
Yeah. No.
Jane, whereabouts is this image? Because I can't seem to find it.
Right, it should have been in with the, you know, the selection that you downloaded for Adobe Lightroom, you know, from the classroom. You should have it there in with, so if you just look for noise, reduce noise in Lightroom, and just double check. I'm not hearing anybody else say it's not there, so it's, don't think it's been spirited away.
Yeah, it's definitely in the project.
Yeah.
It'll get me. Thanks, Jane.
No problem. Did we have a look at the colour cast last week? Removing the colour cast. I don't think we did we?
No, I don't think we did.
No. I'll just go over that one because I think some of you are ready just to have a look at something else. So in this image, obviously we can see that it's a very warm looking image. So the white balance hasn't really been set correctly. So we know colour cast can be induced by lighting conditions, the time of day, setting the wrong white balance. So if we just close that down, and then if we open up the colour tab, then we can see what we're working with. So pretty much the same as you've done before, setting white balance. So we've got temperature and tint that together make up our white balance. So manually, if we take our temperature and then just drag that negative, so you can see as I'm dragging it, we are getting somewhere with the improvement. So just keep on going round about the 80 mark. So that looks quite a bit better, but if you look carefully, you can see it does have that magenta tint to it. So whenever you get a magenta tint, then you counteract that with green. So I'm just going to work with the tint slider now, and then just gradually keep dragging that down just to counteract that magenta tint until you get something that looks reasonable. So that's one way of doing it if you wish to do it manually. So your other option that you have, we'll just take that back again, just bring it back. Quite often you can just use like an auto correction, or you can just go for the white balance selector. So if we click the tool and then just come over, and you're looking basically for something that looks like not pure white but is a neutral, and then if we click on that, then that's just sort of done an auto white balance, which has taken it down to -80 and -16 for the tint. I think I went to -19 rather here, I went to -16 in the notes. So we've got a few options there, but the white balance selector tool is often a really good way to proceed. So the other thing that you've got as shot and custom auto, which you can select from the custom drop down. So taking it back to as shot is back to our colour cast, and then if we go to auto, then again you can see what the auto setting's done. So -50, -9 hasn't sort of taken it quite as far as we did with our adjustment or with the white balance selector, which was -80 and -16. So all of those options are there for you to use, whichever you like best. Personally, I nearly always go for the white balance tool because that does a pretty good job. Okay. So that's the next thing for you to have a look at, just how you can fix your white balance.
Jen, I did this one at home off your notes last week.
Yeah.
So I loaded it up, and I thought, well, I'll go through it again now, and I've tried to load it up from desktop where it was, and it says previously loaded, and it's faded out.
Right, so it means that if you go to grid view, you know, you don't have to open it again. So, you know, last week when we went through this, we created a Lightroom course album.
Yeah.
So if you click on the little grid icon, top left, then you should be able to see Lightroom course album, and then you should have 12 images in it. Can you see my screen or not?
Yes, I can, yeah.
Can you see this little grid icon that I'm pointing to, top left?
Yep, no, I can't.
No. So underneath your menu bar, you've got the 3 buttons for close, minimize and restore. Then you've got there's a little icon next to it, and that's your grid view. So you can also press G.
Yeah, it gives me nothing by way of hang on, yes, I'll just cancel the lot, right? So there you go. Now I'm back in business.
Oh, you're back in business. You sorted it out yourself by the sounds of things.
The best thing just to nuke it and then
nuke it.
Jane, that eyedropper for the automatic white balance, it works really well, doesn't it?
Yeah, and it's the same, you know, in like regular Lightroom. Do you not use it in there, Margie?
I keep forgetting that. I know I should, but I always forget to use it.
Because it makes the, you know, setting the white balance so much easier, especially if you have got a neutral that you can click on in the image.
I'll have to remember, because it really is, it's a good tool to use.
Yeah, I mean, when you see like the before and the after, it does make a big difference.
Wow.
Right, so we'll just jump back into Classroom. So there's not a huge amount. I'll not ask you to go through, because I know there's quite a lot, appears to be a lot there, because I want to go through with you some of the print and stuff. That's not to be scheduled actually until the following Tuesday, so I'll go through all of that print and stuff. There's a couple of things left for us to look at in Adobe Lightroom, so we can have a look at those. The upload I'd like you to do is just a colour pop in Lightroom, so that's in Lightroom Classic, and that's your version of that, okay? And then we can have a look at that next week. Let's check when that's set to be. So yeah, that's due for the 4th, and that gives me time to process it, all right? And then, as I say, the rest of the print and stuff we can have a look at week 8. So just a reminder, the template is due in next week, and then the ILG will be due in the last week, week 9. And I'll be posting information about the new course if you wish to continue, and that will be a combination of Photoshop and Lightroom integration, and that will be progression from this one if you wish to continue. Okay, and then I've already mentioned about the 2 advanced classes, so we'll have the one Tuesday morning at Gosforth and an advanced one Wednesday night at Heaton. Okay, has anybody got any questions?
No,
Yes, I do, Jim. What the things we've got to get into you again?
So I'm just looking for you to upload your version of a colour pop.
Yeah.
Okay, and also your course template, that's due to be handed in next week.
Right.
And
Did I not already send that to you?
that was probably up to week 5, so it needs to be completed up to like the end of course.
Right.
Okay, and then the ILG, that's to be due in week 9. Okay, so there's
Right, and what is the ILG?
That's the individual learner journey, so that's in a Word format, and so every course that's not full cost has one of those, and that's just to fill in, and that is something we send forward to draw down some funding. That's what keeps the course cost down.
Right, yeah.
So we've got that as well. All right, so it's the ILG. And that will be for week 9, and then the course template for next week. Okay?
Right.
And when the recording's processed from tonight's session, I'll upload that, and that will be in the video section if there's anything you want to go back over. Okay?
Right, yeah.
Okay, so have a lovely evening, everybody. Enjoy the football if you've recorded it, and I'll see you all next week.
Right, and you might still see me tomorrow.
Okay, Maggie.
I'm debating, because I mean, even if I can't get up to the viewing platform, there must be something inside the tower that would get photographs of.
Yes, yeah, quite possibly. So I would keep your bag as light as possible, though. Don't take a whole lot of kit, because I don't think you'll be able to carry it.
Definitely not. We just a camera and one lens, and that'll be it.
Yes, that sounds sensible. Okay,
Right.
everybody, thank you for joining me, and have a lovely evening. I'll see you all next week.
Did you say, Jen, you were going to put up something about the keywords? Were you going to put some material up about that?
Yes, that's right. So that's the PowerPoint on the spray painter.
Oh, all right. Okay.
Yes, I'll upload that about the keywords. So it's got the keywords in it, and just what I covered at the very start.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thanks, Jane.
Jane, can I just mention to Margie, if you're interested in the DxO stuff, I've just looked on the website. The free trial is there, but the 30% discount ends tomorrow.
Ends tomorrow.
Yes, if you want to just dive in and get it.
Yeah.
Have 1 day free trial.
Right. Oh, I'm glad you've told us. Yeah, I will. I'll get it.
Well spotted, Doug. Thank you for that.
Brilliant. Thank you, Doug.